The following is a presentation of Project Independence and WCWP. Project Independence is the Aging in Place initiative of the town of North Hempstead. We provide programs and services designed to assist and support the older town residents who wish to remain in their homes as they age. If we don't currently provide a service, we will try and connect you to that service. Call 311 or 869-6311 to get more information or receive services.
Welcome to Project Independence and You.
Welcome to Senior Talk Radio here on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. This is Project Independence and You. I'm your host, John Ryan, and my co-host today is Otto. Good morning, Otto.
John. Good morning, John. Always a pleasure to see you.
It is. Thank you. And we have a very, very special guest with us today. We have Reisa Brafman, and Reisa is with the JCC, and more specifically with the Nancy Marx Cancer Center. And Reisa is going to tell us all about that. We're just going to have a general conversation. But most of the people listening to this show know I have cancer, and I've been having it. I've had it for X number of years, and did wind up going to the JCC, started maybe 2 years ago. I don't remember exactly. With the different groups, and they have a men's group, and then they have a metastatic group, and Reisa is going to talk about them all. There is not a group at the JCC that is not the most wonderful thing I've ever experienced in my life. Everybody's caring, from the staff all the way, and the participants. Everybody wants to be there. So, Reisa, you got a wonderful, wonderful opportunity just to tell us about the JCC, because you're not hiding anything. This is just a wonderful organization, and you and Randy do such a tremendous job. I remember meeting you years ago, and you're always there for everybody to give help and support. And at this kind of a situation, when people have this, that's all they're looking for. You can't cure us, but at least if we know we can reach out and there's somebody there to say, don't worry, I'm here for you. And the JCC does it. So thank you so much for taking your time. And now tell us about Reisa.
Well, thank you so much, John. I appreciate the words that you said and just your wisdom, because you're right. Support means the world when someone's going through cancer. My name is Reisa Brafman, and Otto and Christina and John, thank you and Project Independence for having me. And I'm the program coordinator at Nancy Marx Cancer Wellness Center. And the Nancy Marx Cancer Wellness Center is a place that cancer survivors like John can come and be with other people while they're going through their cancer journey. It's for all types of cancer, males and females, people that are initially diagnosed, going through treatment, through surgery, into end of life. And they could come and receive supportive services that will strengthen their mind, their body, their emotional state, and services that will carry over not only to them, but their family members, their caregivers, and could really make a difference in their well-being overall. And like John mentioned, we're a program of the JCC, and the JCC is located right in East Hills off of Northern Boulevard and Forest Drive, and they're a robust community center. And they offer programs from the early childhood stage to the senior golden years. So like John said, like you would walk into our place and you would see people from all walks of life there. You see people dropping off their kids, to people coming to use our health and wellness center, to our aquatic center. We have a beautiful lap pool. We have workout studios, and of course the cancer center, where people could come, connect with each other, and receive our services.
So true. Reisa, what I would like you to discuss is, and this is coming from Otto, to be honest with you, because Otto always tells people to reach out and come to an advisory meeting with Project Independence. See what it's like. If you don't want to stay, you go home. You never come back. The same thing goes for the programs at the JCC. There's no charge. You come. You join one of them. And at the end of the hour, half hour, 45 minutes, whatever the program happens to be, you don't have to come back. You know, you go about your business, and nobody's going to torment you for anything, which is very important. But just, one of the groups that I know I've been in with you is, and I never say the word right, metastatic?
Yes.
The Friday group.
Yes. Right. So we have a metastatic, advanced, and recurring cancer group, and that meets every Friday. And that's really for people that are dealing with late stage cancer, that are dealing with recurrences, that are dealing with advanced cancer. And John, like you saw, people are getting together and they're talking to people about really sensitive topics, what they're going through, how it feels to have their cancer come back, what some of the side effects are, how they're dealing with telling their family members. And you know what? You'd think that it's only sorrow, and only the bad stuff. But John, like people share their hope, they share their fight, they share their love, and they're also sharing education. They're sharing resources that they've gained from other hospitals, other doctors, other friends. What works when you're going through a difficult side effect? It's really empowering me. And believe it or not, like the community gives to me, and it makes me stronger and makes me feel hopeful.
Okay.
During COVID, I would assume that the game has changed pretty dramatically. It has been virtual, I would assume, or do you have live sessions now at this point?
Oh, you're absolutely right. The game has changed. John, you were there for some of it when the Cancer Center sprung into action. We really felt it was important at first to make sure that our community knew that we were there for them. So what we did was we made sure that we had a check-in call right away. And we said to people, look, get on this phone call. We didn't know if people knew Zoom yet. Get on this phone call, this conference call. It's easy. Dial in. Tell us how you're feeling. Tell us what you need. Tell us what you're scared of. Tell us what's working for you. And we did that right away to just assess the needs. And then we switched gears and we decided that every day we needed to send out an email communication to over 300 people and let them know that we are not going anywhere, that although there's a lot of unknowns, we're going to be there for you. And every day we let them know what kind of programs the Nancy Marx Cancer Wellness Center was hosting, what kind of programs the JCC was hosting. And then we also connected them with concrete services around food, around places that they could get educated around social distancing, where to get masks, what other programs were out there just around learning about COVID. And then, Otto, we switched to virtual programs. All virtual programs, like some of the programs that I see you guys doing. Exercise was online, so people could connect in by Zoom. We had the Nancy Marx Cancer Wellness Center YouTube videos set up, so people that didn't want to do Zoom could actually just press a button, watch a videotape, and exercise at their own discretion. We set those groups that John's talking about, discussion groups, we put those on a virtual platform. And then we also offered individual counseling with Randy Height, who's the director of the Nancy Marx Cancer Wellness Center. She did that over virtual connections and then also over phone, and offered case management and connected people with all the services they needed. And I'll be honest with you, this was something new for the Nancy Marx Cancer Wellness Center. We were not virtual. People came in, they were walk-ins, they had appointments, they came to the groups, and we did everything in person. So we pivoted, and we're still doing that. We have only virtual programs right now from the Nancy Marx Cancer Wellness Center, and we're hopefully, going to go do a hybrid eventually. But then the Sid Jacobson JCC does have in-person programming. People could come work out. People are coming to the center for the childhood programs. People are booking rooms to play basketball and take their kids swimming. And our seniors are doing virtual still, but our dementia program is up and running. And so is our special needs and our community engagement.
The need for virtual, the ability to handle virtual is something that not everybody had when this started. And, Project Independence provides service where they have people actually try to teach somebody how to use Zoom. That's making an assumption, of course, that you have a tablet or a computer. And I was just wondering, how do you handle the people who are not ready or in the virtual world yet? There's a lot of people out there who still haven't gotten there, if you will.
That's a good point. Actually, I was jealous because I saw that you had listed, this is pre-COVID, a program for seniors, just helping them to use their iPhone and their iPad and all these shortcuts. And I wasn't of the age, so I couldn't take part in it. But I thought that was really fantastic. And I think some of our people could really benefit from that. What we actually did firsthand was just send out an email, make phone calls, and ask people, do you know how to do that? And personally, I spent a lot of time on the phone giving individual lessons on how to use Zoom, how to get on conference calls, how to turn their camera on, how to turn their camera off, how to fix their audio. So there was a lot of learning that was going on, but we really encourage people, wherever you are, we're going to meet you where you are, and we're going to try to teach you how to do this.
That's great. As you know, before this show started, we had some fiddling around with the technical part of the show. So the bottom line is you can't mess it up. You can try to fix it, and somebody can help you fix it. I always preach, as they well know, the need for seniors, golden seniors, whatever you want to call us, to get involved with that. It's not going away. If anything, what we've learned during COVID, like this show would not have been on if the adjustment wasn't made to using Zoom. We would still be waiting for the studio to open, and there would have been a year and a month or whatever with nothing. So the need for seniors, I encourage to try to get involved with this, and don't be afraid of it, is very important. And particularly when you have needs like you're surviving cancer, and it would really help you to be able to reach out to people like you. It's you can't encourage it enough.
I just want to jump in one quick thing. The town definitely adapted through Supervisor Bosworth 1, 2, 3 because of COVID, but the JCC, the Nancy Marx, program didn't skip a beat. And I do remember getting emails, getting phone calls. What are you doing? How are you doing? So nobody was left out in the dark because in-person meetings ended. Some places, they closed. And whoever was being taken care of, they didn't get a phone call. I mean, I got phone calls, I got emails, and you had an opportunity to make a decision. And you've helped very many people. And what you're saying, Otto, is so true. You have to be able to adapt. And it was a mark of a tremendous organization there at the JCC and a tremendous Project Independence that we put it together. And we got the radio program going, and we're doing a great job. And since I am talking, I'm going to continue talking and say we're going to take a break. So before we come back and continue with Reisa, you're listening to Senior Talk Radio here on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. We'll be right back.
Take WCWP with you wherever you go with the WCWP app. Listen live 24/7 to all of our streams, all from one app. Plus, call the studios directly from the app and visit our social media. Download the app through the iOS App Store on Apple devices or the Google Play Store on Android by searching WCWP Radio, or visit WCWP.org for links. The WCWP app, available now on iOS and Android devices.
Welcome back to Senior Talk Radio here on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. This is Project Independence and You. I'm your host, John Ryan, and my co-host today is Otto Los. And we're having a wonderful, wonderful conversation with Reisa Brafman, who is with the, I say it wrong every time in my own head, the Nancy Marx Cancer Center at the JCC. These are tremendous, tremendous people. And at the break, Otto had a very good point that he brought up that I'd like you, Otto, now to have a conversation with Reisa about.
Yeah, well, Reisa, you're dealing with basically almost every day, all day cancer and people who have cancer. And there are a lot of people who don't face those kinds of things and they really don't even want to talk about it. How do you deal with that personally, mentally? You have to have a mentality that is geared to handle that. How do you, just out of curiosity?
That's a great question. If I may take the liberty of telling you a little bit about my background and how that could shed some light on that question. Basically, I have had people in my life that I lost to cancer. And then I also had a best friend that was diagnosed with late stage ovarian cancer. I found myself quickly and swiftly having to navigate the world of cancer. And there's no, John, there's no time to waste. So initially I was researching the latest trends, finding the top-notch doctors for her, advocating on her behalf, wound up in Sloan Kettering for 10 days, then had to deal with recurrences and also the plethora of resources that are out there and how to mine through them. And my background is a legal background. I'm actually an attorney. I worked with corporations down on Wall Street on health professional liability cases. And then I worked right here in Nassau County for the Coalition Against Domestic Violence as the senior staff attorney representing battered women and rape survivors. I handled disability cases for clients, as well as teaching nurses and paralegals law at Hofstra University. And I also worked for a corporation, and I'm known in the industry as a social women's justice rights advocate. And I worked with organizations across the US on really difficult topics, such as human trafficking, farm workers exposed to pesticides, nail salon workers fighting for rights, and women from the Rwandan genocide that were survivors. For some reason, I don't know why, I'm able to digest a lot of difficult information and take it in with compassion and understanding, and then spring into action. And I realized I didn't know this when I was younger, but I realized not everyone could do that. And I find myself thrust into the world in which people need community. Community is just a thread in my life. And the strength of community really pulls people through. So when just getting back to your initial question, when dealing with cancer, I think I have the compassion and the know-how to be able to support a community of cancer survivors, but I also have some strengths and real organizational skills and ability to forge partnerships that can also make this community even more powerful. And then I love to just take time for myself to meditate, listen to music, exercise, and a big passion of mine throughout this whole pandemic has been cooking whole food, plant-based food and watching cooking videos and learning about just nutrition and eating.
You've listed so many things that we could have a show on by
Wow.
itself. There's probably 10 items that you rattled off just now. You're a gifted lady, and we're lucky to have you here and at the Nancy Marx Center as well.
Thank you.
Not everybody can do what you do.
Thank you.
Go ahead, John.
You keep going, Otto. No, you're okay. I'm sorry. You go, Otto.
Yeah, well, you got enough to talk about too, I know. But one of the things with cancer is I like to talk to people about it as well and try to help where I can. And it's like a gray cloud that's always there. You can't make believe it's not there because it is there. People who are going through the process, that doesn't go away. So, my view, and I've gone through with a lot of people and me, you have to take it one day at a time, one hurdle at a time, and don't project out too far. And that's my opinion in terms of how I deal with it. And, I think dealing with people like you help that process, if you will. And I do believe it's a process. You have to work at it. You can go the pity pot and the oh me routine, or you can do like John, who's a true example of what I would hope to be like. So anyhow, enough editorializing. John does a great job facing tough stuff every day. And I don't think, I obviously don't know. I do know the end result of some of it, but I do know that John goes through hell lots of times, and he handles it like a champ. And, what can I say? That may be off the track altogether, but I think John is a great example.
We're definitely off the track. Come on.
Yeah.
We're definitely off the track.
Now it's your turn, John.
I'm going right back to Reisa because everything you're saying, Otto, is so true. And when Christina puts people on this show, I didn't even know Reisa's entire background. But what comes out at the JCC is all her knowledge, her caring, and her compassion, and everything else. And I really didn't know you were an attorney. It makes no difference what you are, because anybody who walks in there and meets you or Randy is comfortable. And nobody in my situation is turning around and saying, give me your background. If you could be a lawyer and nasty, I want no part of you then. But
Right.
you don't have to be a lawyer and be a wonderful person that you are, which is what makes the Nancy Marx Center so inviting to everybody. There's no, nobody's questioning what anybody is or has or does. They're just caring. And the Friday program is really, it's, people have it tough in that Friday program because, I haven't been there for a while, and I'm going to guess that when I do go back, some of the people may not be there anymore. And that's just a guess. I have no idea. That's the kind of program it is. But when we get together, they're wonderful people because everybody needs somebody. We talk about this. I personally, this Friday show is wonderful for me and my whole little family here with Otto, Christina, and Dan. It's very important for me. And when I don't make it, I'm really not in a good shape then. At work, I have Peter. Everybody knows my Peter. And then my family, my wife and my kids. So everybody has to have a nucleus. And there's no question about it. And then just the other day, I said to Christina, even if I'm not feeling good, I'm coming from now on because I could just sit here and look. And Otto and Christina will take care of it. I mean, I don't have to talk, even though I like to. No.
And that's a good point. I mean, what you have there is a family. What you have is understanding. And what we have at our groups is the same thing. Not only do we have that metastatic, advanced, and recurrent cancer group that John mentions, but we have a general cancer group, which that's for people with any type of cancer. We also have a male cancer group. And that's where 5 to 8 men get together once a week with a facilitator. And his name is Scott Gassman, and he's actually a cancer survivor himself. And those men, a lot of times there's this stereotype that men don't talk. And these men never thought that they were candidates for a group, but they also never thought that they were going to be diagnosed with cancer. And they come together and they develop such strength from this community. And like John says, they look forward to it. And when they don't come, they feel like something's missing. We also have a new group for caregivers because, like Otto, what you said, people are affected by cancer in so many ways. And it affects everybody. It affects the family. So caregivers could come and get support from other people. And no one really understands a cancer survivor like another cancer survivor. So to be able to kind of just vent or just show up, and John, kind of like what you said, just be there, maybe not even contribute because you don't feel up to it. And also deal with the losses, because John, you're right, people have passed away in our program. And that's kind of reality in your face, not only losing a loved one, but possibly trying to kind of come to terms with maybe that's going to be me one day.
Right. Oh, that's so true. Go ahead, Otto.
No, I find it interesting. The word survivor is what is used all the time. And I always thought like a survivor was somebody who survived. They don't have it anymore. But what you're saying, I think, is that anybody who has cancer is a survivor because they're still here. And then I noticed you also have post-cancer, I guess, groups for people who have actually gotten through the whole thing and are now clean. Am I right in that?
Yes. So 2 things you addressed. One is about the word survivor. Randy Height, who's the director of the program, and she's a licensed clinical social worker that specializes in oncology. She really taught me about that word. She says a cancer survivor is a cancer survivor from the day they're diagnosed. No matter what happens after that, to us, they're a cancer survivor. And with respect to programs after, we've had, like, for instance, a man that his doctor says, hey, you're done, you're clean, cancer free, go out and live. And they don't know how to go out and live because now we were in fight mode, soldier mode almost, just trying to live. And now you're left with all these emotions and you don't know what to do with them. So, right, you might be cancer free, but you're still eligible to receive our services and come and get support, get knowledge, and figure out how you can enter life again because you're changed, right, John? John, Otto, I think a cancer diagnosis changes you.
Well, I think if you have, a lot of times you don't get it unless you've been there, and if you're cancer free, you can really bring to the table the thinking that goes on through the process of being a survivor. So I think you still contribute. Uh, you don't forget, you don't forget what you went through, or you don't forget what the family went through. So I think that knowledge is beneficial for people to bring to the table to help others who are still in the survivor mode, if you will.
Absolutely. We have one gentleman in our group, and he shared his story publicly. He had pancreatic cancer and was diagnosed 13 years ago.
Oh, wow.
He feels it's a gift of God that he's still alive here. And he continues to this day to come to the group to be able to be of support to other men.
Yeah, well, that's quite a story, because pancreatic cancer is, that's not a good one.
No, I agree. Actually, and I met him at one of the men's groups. That's got to be 2 years ago, but I met him and I was amazed, because I know that with pancreatic cancer, 13 years, whatever the number, it's like, it is a gift that he's still here. We do have to take another break. You're listening to Senior Talk Radio here on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. We'll be right back.
WCWP is your home for great music and great conversation. You'll find all that and more on WCWP.org. Listen live on the web, check out the lineup, subscribe to podcasts, and stay up to date on the latest station events. Get in touch with us and let us know if you like what you're hearing. And find out how you can support or get involved at the only community public radio station serving Nassau's North Shore. Plus, sign up to get a free bumper sticker. It's all online at WCWP.org.
Welcome back to Senior Talk Radio here on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. This is Project Independence and You. I'm your host, John Ryan, and my co-host today is Otto.
Still learning here, John, every time.
It's wonderful. And we're with Reisa Brafman, who is with the JCC Nancy Marx Cancer Wellness Program, which, I can never say enough good things about it. And we're going to go through some of the programs now, but I just wanted to finish something we were talking to at break. You were talking about the hand yoga class, Reisa,
Yes.
and
Yes.
I was going to go to my mother-in-law's house, because she has very bad hands, and do it with her. And it was my brother-in-law. I have this little laptop thing. My mother-in-law, Otto, has macular degeneration. And he said, John, she's not going to be able to see it. It makes no difference. I mean, she has a big screen TV and she hardly sees that. So we didn't wind up doing it. But that was just another program that's coming out. And what I want to do, Reisa, is talk about some of the programs, so many of them. But actually, I want to start with one, which I've never done. And then you can go to ones that are most significant. The writing program.
The writing program, and I can't say enough about it. In fact, my friend who I talked about earlier, she wasn't able to take part in that program initially because she was working. Then when COVID happened, I encouraged her. I said, you should really try this Power of Words writing workshop. And it's a program in which Leslie, a volunteer who's a writer, she sits together with people, and now we're doing it virtually. And cancer survivors come and put pen to paper, and they express themselves, sometimes in reaction to prompts, other times just to get things out that they're going through, and sometimes really to just express themselves creatively. And my friend is part of this community right now, and she tells me every week, she actually reads some of her writing to me and just tells me how it's changed her perspective. And she's developed a community of people that really care and look out for her. I can't say enough. I actually spoke to Randy, and I want to have a Power of Words event in which people could actually share their writing with their family and the community if they want. So if we do that, I'd love for you guys to attend, but it's a powerful, powerful program that I can't say enough great things about.
Okay. And it's every Monday I think at 2 o'clock. I just wanted to look it up quick. 1:45 or 2 o'clock. But it really, I've never done it. And it's one of the, I have it on my calendar to do it every week. And I
Yeah,
never
you
do.
should try it. I'm looking up the time here, and I think it's 2 p.m. Yeah, on Mondays.
Okay. On Mondays. But actually, Reisa, give out a phone number for anybody listening who wants to get involved, either as a volunteer or at this point in time, it's not volunteers, but who has cancer and is very interested in getting some support.
So they could contact me. My name again is Reisa, Reisa, Brafman, Brafman, and the phone number is 516-484-1545, and it's extension 228. And it's really easy to get started. You can just give me a call and you let us know you're interested. Randy and I will do a brief intake, ask you a few questions, get a little bit about your history, see what you're interested in doing. And then we could also tell you what other programs would be appropriate for you. So please, just pick up the phone. And again, it's not a cumbersome process.
Read the number one more time.
516-484-1545. You could ask for me, Reisa Brafman, or my extension 228.
Okay.
I think it's important that it comes out that this program is free, that there's no hooker in the background that where you have to pay for something.
Exactly, Otto. The Nancy Marx Cancer Wellness Center has no charge for our programs, and we wanted to do that purposely so there would be no barriers to someone having access to our program. The JCC has other programs that do have a fee, like if you wanted to use the Health and Aquatic Center, if you wanted to take part in different programs, have your child attend the Early Childhood Center. So that's a different pay scale and different programs with different costs. But the Nancy Marx Cancer Wellness Center is a free program.
And I also want to stress at this point in time, because of COVID last year and what's going on around the country in general, one, I know that some grants that had been designated to the JCC got canceled across, which happened with a lot of different places, but that's not fair when you have an organization that is expecting to pay salaries and support things that you're given a 3 or 4 year grant and then year number 2 or 3, they cancel it. I know life happens, but then once a year, and I think it's October, they do a fundraiser. Okay, no obligation. I participated last year, not as much, but the year before. But the difference is, and if I'm not mistaken, and it shows what COVID did, the 2 years ago when I first got involved with the JCC, I think they raised like $125,000 or $135,000. It was a good number, which had been higher than, they've been doing it for years, but I was never involved. I didn't go. And last year, maybe it was 35 or 40. So COVID really has hurt so many things. And here is a 60% reduction in money that goes to good causes. This is not going to junk. It's going for salaries. It's going for programs. It's going for materials that are needed to help people out. Now, I'm sure this year the fundraiser will be better. And I'm only bringing this up from the point of view, if there is an organization or a person out there looking for a place, call the JCC, call Reisa's number and have a conversation, because this may be somebody you would like to take on as somebody you would like to contribute to and be a sponsor. That's all, because the world has changed, unfortunately, and they will come back. But the most important part is they never stopped. They didn't turn around and say, we're not making as much money now, so we don't care as much. They cared as much, if not more, because they figured out how to do it virtually and be there. And virtual is a pain in the backside too for everybody. It's not the easiest thing in the world. You had to learn new things. So I'll come off the soapbox. We'll talk about programs again.
Well, you know what, I do want to point out what you're saying is true. Like all nonprofits, some of our revenue streams really have changed. So financially, the JCC and the Nancy Marx Cancer Wellness has taken a hit. And we're fortunate to get a grant from the Department of Health and some private grants. We also, though, rely heavily on individuals that come to our program, community members and businesses. So absolutely, if there's anyone out there that's looking to sponsor a specialty program of ours or just wants to make a donation, they can give us a call. We try to do different things to raise money. In fact, we have this weekend coming up, our drive-in series is starting. And, you know, John, you may remember we hosted some tribute bands in the parking lot of the Jacobson JCC. We also hosted some movies. So we have on Saturday, we actually have a tribute band. I think it's maybe the Rolling Stones coming up a couple of weeks from now. We have the Beatles. We also have a Bon Jovi tribute band. And that's a nice way for people to come, have their family come out, come to a drive-in, and also have that money go towards our emergency fund. We also, John, you underestimate, or you're humble and you don't say how much of an impact you had when you worked with us on the 5K. But that 5K, John's right, is a way in which all of that money that we raise goes towards the Cancer Wellness Center and allows us to have these free programs. And last year we had to go virtual. We're hoping this year we're going to be able to do it in person. It's going to look really different than it looked in the past, but it's an opportunity for cancer survivors to come out with their families and friends, and for people to really give back and support a program that I think is, what we hear from people, is priceless and valuable to their overall well-being.
I'm going to agree with you 100%. For people who go, and I'm urging anybody who is listening, you have nothing to lose by going to a program, and you could even go to the program and see if it's good for somebody else. You know, you might have a spouse, a partner, a family member who you think could use a little support, but they may be nervous to take the first step. Go with them. And I say, my personality is different. I'm willing to walk into a crowd, but there was never a point that I feel uncomfortable or an outsider. You just walk in and somebody's saying hello to you like they've known you all their life, which is a tribute to everybody involved within the organization and the programs themselves. But go into some of the exercise things that you have going on, if you don't mind, Reisa.
Sure. So we have exercise programs, and they're actually special because they're made for cancer survivors. We have cancer exercise specialists or instructors that have a background in cancer, and they know how to communicate with people with cancer, how to make adaptations and modifications based on what you're going through. So on Mondays, we have a full body conditioning class that is geared towards women breast cancer or gynecological cancer survivors. On Wednesdays, we have a strength and stretch class, which is Pilates classes and also focuses on breathing. Thursdays, Inbar, she teaches a gentle yoga and meditation class, which a lot of people have used those tools and carried them outside of the workout studio into their life when they get into stressful situations. Friday, we have a phenomenal teacher that teaches full body conditioning classes to all different cancer survivors. And then once a month, I think it's the second Saturday of the month, we have Tai Chi, which I know you guys offer as well. And this is Tai Chi for cancer survivors and really helps with coordination and balance. So those are the exercise classes. And what John said is true. You can come to one, maybe that's not your thing. You find out yoga's not for you, but then maybe you decide that strength training is. So you come, you try it out, and we really have regulars that keep coming back. And we also had a walking group. And what happened pre-COVID, the walking group actually met across the street at the museum, or they met on our track, and they would walk together. Once COVID hit, we couldn't do that, but we encouraged people to continue walking on their own. And then they called in for a phone call where we got to connect around any difficulties they had and tips about breathing and stretches. So
Reisa,
that sums it up.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but is there multiple things like a website, a newsletter, a brochure that kind of outlines what the various options are as far as your programs are concerned?
Yeah, we have all those things. So someone that's listening now, if they want to go to our website, it's www.sjjcc.org. And then they just click on programs and click on cancer wellness. We also, if anyone wants to email me or call me, my phone number again is 516-484-1545, extension 228. My email is rbrafman, which is BRAF as in Frank, MAN, at sjjcc.org. We have a brochure that I could send them. I could send them the link. We also, pre-COVID, had a newsletter. We haven't done the newsletter since COVID because we were doing a daily email.
We have another break coming up, but all that information will be on our website also when we put this up. So anybody who wants to get in touch with Reisa over there definitely can. But right now we're taking the break. You've been listening to Senior Talk Radio here on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. We'll be right back.
So I get this call from my grandma, and she's like,
"What's a podcast and how much does it cost?"
So I tell her, podcasts are like radio shows, but you can download them on any device and listen to them anywhere at any time, and they're free. And then she says,
"I see, but where can you find good ones?"
And I'm like, go to wcwp.org/podcast and check out the lineup of original shows, or download any podcast app on your phone or tablet and search for LIU Studios. And she's all like,
"Oh, that sounds easy."
And then she asked me what an app is.
LIU Studios podcasts, available on any podcast app. You know, those little button things on your phone screen. Just ask your grandkids.
Welcome back to Senior Talk Radio here on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. This is Project Independence and You. I'm your host, John Ryan, and my co-host today is Otto. And we are with Reisa Brafman, who Reisa is with the Nancy Marx Cancer Wellness Center at the JCC in Roslyn. One thing that I want to make clear, which Otto just brought up just before we came back, is the program, the Cancer Wellness Program, takes care of physical, mental, and emotional needs. There is no doctor medical type of things. There's no diagnosis. There's nothing going on from a medical perspective at the JCC. This is all, you've already been diagnosed, you're in treatment, etc., etc. You're looking for help. You're looking for a hand to hold. That's what you're doing. That's what you're going to the JCC for. And talking about that, Randy, who works with Reisa, Randy is the director?
Yes.
Okay. She also does one-on-one. In fact, I know I had a conversation with her maybe a month ago that she called me up and I was on the phone for 40 minutes with her. But everybody is entitled to that if you're involved. We talk about that, Reisa.
Yes, Randy's a licensed clinical social worker. She specializes in oncology, and she provides short-term individual counseling to clients when appropriate. And some clients could come for one session, some clients could come for more sessions. And then she also provides case management as well. We have a list of resources, and where appropriate, she'll tap into those resources and provide them. So people can come for a whole host of things. Someone may be diagnosed initially with cancer and they want to get a second opinion and they don't know how to go about that. So they could talk to Randy about that. Someone else may come to us and they've just been diagnosed with breast cancer and they're preparing for a lumpectomy or a mastectomy and they don't know how. They want to physically get their surroundings at home ready. They want to talk to their children and need tips about how to do that. They want to reach out and get a wig fitting because they hear they're going to lose their hair. These are the type of things that Randy could help someone with. In addition, through COVID, we found that people had heightened anxiety. So that was something to be able to speak with Randy about tips and even come to some of our classes on meditation. We also saw people their diagnosis was delayed. Their treatment was delayed. Remember, hospitals were closed down, right? So they couldn't get to their doctors. They couldn't have their treatment. They couldn't have their surgery. So that came with a whole host of anxiety. And then in addition, people were quarantined. So like your clients too, I'm sure, your community, we saw an uptick in access to food. people had difficulty getting food, and they needed to know and have concrete services around food. So we were able to help them with that. And then we also had difficulties around people's family members getting COVID and some of them losing their life. So now you had bereavement and grief on top of everything. And then I can't tell you, John, I mean, you probably know this, you're already facing a life-threatening disease. And then you find out now there's this disease out there that is also life-threatening. That adds another layer of anxiety. So those are some of the things that, you know, our center was able to help with.
I want to just touch base with Randy, because we're talking here with Reisa, so we know what Reisa's done. She's wonderful. But last year, before COVID, and before I went on from March to October of last year, I was on a trial. So I had chemo and radium. But prior to it, I really wasn't feeling well. So maybe in January, I was in the JCC. And Randy said hello to me in passing in the hall or whatever. And then like 2 days later, I got a phone call from her. And she was honest. She said, you just look terrible. I haven't seen you look that bad. What's going on? And I told her, one thing wasn't working but that shows that whether it's Randy or Reisa, they take the extra step. You become part of the family. She had no obligation to give me a call to say you didn't look good. And then Reisa's so correct. Fortunately, I was in a program that they didn't stop. So I went to Sloan, but when I did go, when I first started, it was a mob scene. And then once March came, March, April, May, I would almost be by myself. I'm hanging out with everybody. We're all talking. I'm there for 3 or 4 hours at a time, because if it wasn't necessary, if they could push you back, they pushed people back, or they sent them to Westchester or out to Long Island. Nothing wrong with that. Nobody was neglected.
Right.
But in your head, you're saying, why am I not getting my regular treatment?
Right.
And it's spooky. So, to have an organization like this help, back up those thoughts, it's very, very, very important. And look what you have in here. Between Reisa and Randy, you have a trained social worker in oncology and a legal mind, both with tremendous hearts. It really is. I can't say enough about the place.
I have a question for probably Christina. Would the ride to Nancy Marks Wellness Center be considered like going to a doctor? And would that be covered with the Project Independence transportation program?
Yeah, so it should be, because it's a support group and there's a medical component to it. So, they would just call 311 and, go over that. So it should, as long as there's, there's a social worker clearly and medical aspects to it, it should cover.
So if people have a problem driving, they could get a ride to the Nancy Marks Center from Project Independence.
Yeah, and right now it's still cashless.
Right.
Because it got changed during
Free.
COVID.
Free.
Yep.
So the ride is free and the service is free.
And that's for right now, yeah.
Right.
That's
that's
huge.
That's a great point too. I mean, right now our Nancy Marks Cancer Wellness Center is virtual, but sometimes people have some limitations because of transportation. So when we do go back to maybe hybrid programming, Otto, that would be fantastic to let people know that they could get here through 311 and Project Independence. But I will tell you that it's virtual. The ray of sunshine has been that people who couldn't get to us or were too sick to come out of their homes were able to join us virtually. And we also, our catchment area changed. So we started telling other JCCs about our program that don't have cancer centers, and even people from another state could join us or outside of the Long Island community.
Actually, I gave you a number to somebody in Pennsylvania who I know they were sick. I don't know them. It's the father of a friend of mine. And I said, tell him to call. Everything is going virtual. He's not going to drive to Roslyn. But at this point in time, if it's a virtual program, I don't see why they wouldn't let him join. I don't know what he did, to be honest with you. What are you talking about when you're saying hybrid coming down the road? Is there a plan?
Well, you know what? We don't necessarily have a solid plan yet, but some of the thoughts that Randy and I have been throwing around is continuing to have a hybrid program because has seen the real needs of people that can't get in because of what stage they are in cancer. They can't get to our group physically. So they can still, from the comfort of their home, join the group. So that's why she really kind of thinks that maybe there's going to be some hybrid model down the road where once we can safely open our program and have our cancer survivors come back and meet with us in person, that others may still want to log on and take part in our exercise or take part in our discussion groups and do it that way.
Yeah, I can visualize that being a big thing in a lot of places, including Project Independence. But I believe that the Dan Coxes of the world would have to be involved with setting up the system, if you will. Like if we did the radio show out of the studio, we three could be together with Dan, but then somebody else who's a guest could be in Pennsylvania and be on Zoom. But technically, you'd have to have the how do you do all that? And that's where Dan would come into play, right, Dan?
Right, Dan? No, but it's the truth. I think what you're saying here, Reisa, is great because there's somebody who wants to come to a program, but on a given day may not be physically up for it.
Yes.
So they can call in that day.
Yeah.
That's a smart idea. I mean, this has changed so much for the good. You know, with the Zoom stuff that's going to be coming down the road, like even us now, we're on TV. And I'm assuming that if the world goes back to perfect, whenever that is, this is going to keep up to some degree, and we're going to maintain a TV exposure going forward. And the same with you guys. Your Tai Chi class on a Saturday at 10:30, which I happen to know when it is a class you know, you just got up, you're running late. I got to get dressed, showered, and get up to the JCC, or I could put on the TV, you know, turn on the computer.
Yeah, you could be exercising for 45 minutes and then you could be cooking dinner 5 minutes later. It's really convenient. Yeah.
No, from that point of view, it's tremendous. The only thing we didn't touch on, and I just wanted to touch on it very quickly, Nancy Marx. How did that come about even?
So the Cancer Center has been around since 2003. Okay. But sometime later, Harvey Marx, who's a longtime member of the JCC and community member, came to our program to talk a little bit about and seek services for his wife who had brain cancer. Unfortunately, by the time she got to our program, she didn't get to utilize the plethora of resources that we had. But Harvey was touched by the program and his wife's disease and really wanted to make sure that other people got these services. So he invested his time, his talent, his interest, and resources to make sure that happens. And thus the Nancy Marx Cancer Wellness Center came about.
Okay. I just wanted, I met him, but I didn't really know the whole story myself. I just assumed there was something along that line. But I mean, there's a man who really has, you know, terrible thing, losing his wife who was, you know, and I didn't know him and I didn't know her, and how many people ultimately are being helped and benefiting from her, that it's a wonderful thing to her memory, you know, to keep it going forward. And stories like that, when, you know, a family steps up to help another family in need, is just, it's tremendous. That's all. So kudos to Harvey. I just wanted to, you know, before we ended this thing, bring it to everybody's attention. And the last thing, we only have a few minutes. Hours of operation, basically, I mean, the programs you guys have going now, usually from like 10 to, you know.
Yeah, so basically, we're open 9 to 5 regular business hours, but what we do is we also have groups during the day, and we have some evening groups. We have exercise classes mainly during the day, and then Monday through Friday, and then we have a weekend class as well, once a month. And usually people could reach us by phone and email, and if we're not in the office at that time, we'll get back to them as soon as we can.
Perfect. Honestly, I mean, we're basically out of time. I want to thank you, Reisa, so much for coming on. This has just been so informative. I can't, say enough positives about the Marx Cancer Wellness Center at the JCC. And it's a program that Randy and Reisa own and do a wonderful, wonderful job. So, Reisa, from me and from everybody else who participates and from the town of North Hempstead, thank you. That's all I can say. It's a wonderful, wonderful job.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
Agreed.
Thank you, Reisa. We're taking a break. You're listening to Senior Talk Radio on 88.1 FM.